All right, hello. My name is Keith. I'm a customer engineer here at Google. And today we're going to talk about what's new in Google SecOps. We'll focus on the emerging threats rule set and our new alert graph. So in covering those two new features or topics, we'll touch on some threat intelligence, we'll review the curated detections, and we'll pop into that emerging threats rule set, and then we'll look at the alert graph, finishing off with some next steps. So from a threat intelligence perspective, I think it's important to kind of review where we're coming up with these rule sets. And we're leveraging the power that Google brings with our threat intelligence organization. So to give you some context around this, Google keeps more people safe online than anyone else. And this is evident because businesses and governments globally depend on our products that are secure by design and secure by default. Part of that magic behind Google's security is the sheer scale of threat intelligence that we're able to derive from our billions of users, browsers, and devices. Underneath the hood here, our core Google protects over 5 billion devices running Chrome from malware with safe browsing and 2.5 billion Gmail inboxes from phishing. VirusTotal's Threat Observatory includes more than 6 billion URLs and over 5 billion domains. And then Mandiant has more than 1,000 security experts worldwide, made up of forensics investigators, malware analysts, consultants, intelligence analysts, and network analysts. And these folks are in more than 20 countries, as well as 4 security operations centers located throughout the world to provide 24/7 support. So we do have consultants around the world, but our advantage is more than just about global presence. It's about our ability to keep up with regional regulations through government relationships, where we can address isolated or regional attacks. Okay, let's review the curated detections. This is really where the emerging threat rule pack lives. So curated detections are a collection of rules grouped together to cover specific threats. And since the initial release, we have continued to develop new rule sets to cover even more threats, and have introduced a set of new powerful features to enable customers to build their own detections. Our detections provide security teams with high quality, actionable, out-of-the-box threat detection content. It's curated, built, and maintained by Google Cloud Threat Intelligence researchers. Our scale and depth of intelligence, gained by securing billions of users every day, gives us a unique vantage point to craft effective and targeted detections. These native detection sets cover a wide variety of threats for network and beyond, including Windows-based attacks like ransomware, remote access tools, info stealers, data exfiltration, and suspicious activity. These detections are built by Google Cloud Threat Intelligence team and are actively maintained to reduce manual toil in your team. By surfacing impactful, high-efficacy detections, Chronicle can enable analysts to spend time responding to actual threats and reduce that alert fatigue. So there's our background on curated detections, and now we'll touch on the new feature, the Mandiant Emerging Threats rule set. So as I said, this rule set resides within our curated detection component. And the emerging rule set is created and maintained by the Mandiant Intel team. And it covers threats in 3 distinct areas. The first area are threats related to significant events or newsworthy events. An example might be threats related to the upcoming US election or nation-state attacks on critical infrastructure. The second area are threats related to active campaigns. So there are 2 types of campaigns that are covered here. The first being individual threat campaigns. These campaigns are created when an actor or multiple actors cooperate toward a single objective at multiple targets within a relevant time period. The second campaign type is a global threat campaign. These campaigns are created when multiple unrelated actors run parallel campaigns involving a similar theme, a target, or resource. A common example is multiple threat actors starting campaigns that exploit a recently released zero-day vulnerability. The third area that we cover are threats related to new methodologies that are detected. So these may be threats that leverage a newly seen TTP, otherwise known as a tactic, technique, and procedure. And these rules are released to the platform before widespread news of the methodology is published. The next feature we'll talk about is the alert graph. And simply put, the alert graph visualizes alerts that are generated from YARA-L rules within Chronicle. This provides detection engineers with a good deal of flexibility around the data points to put in front of an analyst, while also enabling the analyst to visualize not just this alert, but additional alerts that are associated with entities found in the alert. It allows you to expand your scope of investigation, surfacing additional insights that may not have been initially found. So with that, I'd like to jump into a quick demo. We'll start with the curated detections. And within Chronicle, you'll notice here we've got this curated detections page, and we've got the curated detection rules packs organized by, for example, cloud threats, Linux threats, Windows threats, etc. And I can pop into one of these rule packs and turn them on, turn them off, or focus them. You'll notice here that I can enable the curated detections to be precise or to be broad, with precise rules being very targeted and broad rules being more open. Let's take a look at our emerging threats rule pack. So here is that emerging threats rule pack we discussed, where it covers those three campaign types. And again, I can turn these on, turn these off. I can view which MITRE tactics and techniques these rule packs provide coverage for. I can add exclusions. So maybe there is a specific tool that I want to exclude from detections. I can add those here as well. And from there, I think it's good to pivot over to the alert graph. So we'll leverage the emerging threats rule pack to go take a look. So here we see we've got a rule in the pack called Mimikatz command arguments. And this is a rule that focuses on the specific arguments that are used when running a Mimikatz tool. And what you're seeing here are all of the detections that this rule has surfaced. So from here, I'll dive in to the alert graph, and I'm presented with an overview page. The overview page gives me information about the alert. What's the risk score? What's the severity? When was it last updated? Maybe I have some tags within the rule as well that call out those MITRE attack tactics. The detection summary section here allows me to see the rule, what rule set it came from, and then when it was detected. I can also pivot to view other alerts from this rule. At the bottom, we show the events from Chronicle that contributed to this alert firing a detection. We jump into the graph. Here is where we get that visual representation of the alert. And what you'll see on the screen is the detections and the associated entities. And what I can do here is dive into an entity to maybe expose additional detections that weren't initially seen. So if I start to move stuff around here, I notice that my initial detection surfaced an entity called stackpads.local. Diving into that domain, I'm looking at additional detections that have triggered in my environment. So this allows me to understand that I may have more going on with this entity than initially seen with the scope of that one alert. The other pieces I can do with this alert graph are add additional entities to the screen. By default, we show 5 entities, but maybe I want to add additional entities here. And the reason I might want to do that is, again, I can dive into the entities to expose additional detections that I didn't initially know about. And so here I'm looking at a file hash related to the initial detection where it's surfacing other detections to help me investigate this. All that to be said, this helps me prioritize my response because I can see the detection scope for a specific entity. We pop into the graph options, I can add the risk score to the screen as well, further giving me better prioritization of the different alerts and detections in my environment. On the left side here, we've got our graph summary. At the top, we've got the alert metadata. So what is this detection really leveraging? And we saw some of this on the summary page earlier. Below that, we've got those different entities. And from here, I might want to pivot out to an entity to do a deeper investigation. I can also pivot out to the different detections that were surfaced. So if I jump out to, for example, this who am I execution alert, maybe this gives me additional information and allows me to do additional analysis using the graph as well. So all that to be said, this alert graph helps me visualize detections and speed up my investigation by allowing me to pivot and visualize what's really happening in my environment. Okay, in terms of next steps and resources, we do want to leave you with some good information. The first one here is the knowledge base, where you can discover cloud security best practices and tutorials. The other one is our community. You can join, learn, and engage with the community. If there's questions, if you want a deeper dive on any of these topics, post inside the community, and some of our experts will respond. I also encourage you to give feedback on this event. If you'd like to see additional things in the future, that's a great place to ask for it. And then finally, check out some of our future events here. We've got our New York City user group this Thursday, where we're going to dive into a threat briefing and then run a live Purple Team workshop. Okay, let's do some Q&A. Okay, the first question I got is it possible to save progress after building out an alert graph? Can these be shared? So the alert graph is built from the detection rule within Chronicle. And so as a review, detection rules are built using the YARA-L language. And within that rule, I can leverage the outcome section to surface different variables or entities. So the alert graph itself is already built for you. The expansion or the drilling down into it, like I did in the demo, that would have to be recreated, but the alert graph is built from the rule. Okay, next question. Are there any tips on how to build out an alert graph while minimizing wait times? Graphing performance tips. And so what I've seen here is that our alert graphing technique is starting with the 5 entities on the screen, and that's designed to minimize the time it takes to plot out the different entities and detections. So in terms of tips, I would say keep it at that 5 entity starting point. And if you do want to expand out, you can add one at a time to kind of get more insight into the alerts itself. I think that's all I have. Let's see if there's any other questions. Okay, if there's no other questions live, if you don't want to ask them live, that's fine. Feel free to pop into the community and ask your questions there. And again, if you'd like to see more information, pop in the community and we can set something up. So thanks everyone for joining in, and looking forward to seeing you in the community.